Right, we have only got about 8 minutes to cover the King George, which is the last of these big races towards the end of the year. Last year, obviously, Silvano Conti. A lot of these horses that we mentioned actually will run in those one of those two big races in November. In any case, the King George, do you see there be a different result?
I think you've got to look at the old favours. The King George is a race that favours horses that have been there and done it. Obviously, Corte Star, Silvano Conte, Dinast and Q-Card. You can argue now about which one of those will come out on top, but I think you also got to have a look somewhere else and take a different.
You want to go to Ireland, don't you?
I do. I'm going to back to my friend Mr Mullins. I think Champagne Fever is a really exciting prospect for 3 miles. He's by a Roselier mare, and I think he's a I know it didn't really work out so well as it might.
I couldn't quite understand why
you must think a lot of the Hollywell then. It's that form. It's that form. I mean, Western Warhorse beat your horse in there. He comes out the same horse. So if you fancy that, you've got to fancy Hollywell.
Champagne Fever. I'm surprised they kept it over such a short distance last year.
Yeah, yeah.
But you think that will they go 2 miles to 3 miles over 3 miles, or would they go 2.5? Well,
if you're going to try 3 miles, the King George is a perfect race to try 3 miles.
And there'll be a prep race before then, no doubt.
Well, yeah, there may be, but the King George, we've seen 2 milers win the King George. Remember Edward Blur skipping round, so you don't sort of worry too much about stamina in a King George.
The thing is, around about that time of that champion race in Ireland, isn't there?
There might be a doubtful run. I just had a feeling that he could come out and win this, and I've had a small bet on William Williams to be champion trainer this year, which everyone says I'm crazy, and I probably am. But Champagne Fever is a lovely type of horse, and if you take the view that there's going to be something different this year, he would be the one to take, I think.
Okay. In relation to the King George?
Well, the King George, first of all, when we talked about the Betfair Chase, the Hennessy, the test, and again, we're talking about a different track, completely different test. It's fairly sharp. I mean, you've got to be able to travel early. I mean, I can see the angle on that because you will actually, you've got plenty of speed for it, but you do have to stay as well and get into a riv. I mean, looking down the horses like Silvio Conti, again, I can't really have that. I mean, more of a stay wouldn't be suited by the track. I was interested. I'm not sure he's going to run in Boston Bob. Last year, sorry.
Silvio Conti won it last year, then.
Yeah, I know he won it last year, but I just think that he'd met a horse in Q-Card that won it itself last time. I mean, he was in big trouble until Q-Card came down to the last, and then he sort of come sweeping past it as if Q-Card didn't stay the race. So I think that track doesn't really suit the likes of Silvio Conti. I think he is more of a...
we're going to talk about Boston Bob.
Boston Bob, I think he's not fulfilled his promise. I remember time ago, I mean, they thought he was the real deal, this horse. And I just thought there were signs last time at Punchestown behind First Lieutenant, beat 3 1/4 lengths. First Lieutenant ran behind Silvio Conti the time before at Aintree. Collateral lines there, not a lot between them that day. He's also proved himself over 2.5 miles. I know he was beating the likes of Rolling Aces that day off level weights, but so he must have a little bit of speed to be able to win 2.5.
I think the worry with Boston Bob is possibly the fact that it went chasing, didn't quite work, back to hurdles and then back to chasing again. They might have found a solution though, because obviously the horses.
I think that's
a 9-year-old. We're not talking about a 7-year-old here. It's about a 9-year-old horse who's essentially been a bit disappointed.
He's had 7 runs over fences.
It's hardly anything. In relation to, I mean, Simon Sig is very short, and again, speaking to Nicky Henderson, I'm not 100% convinced that this is a target.
No, but what a great horse. He's won, 8 to his 9 races, and if he did come out and the vibes were good, it'd be fascinating to see how he gets on. It'd be great to see him come out and win it. And I can see something taking it off the sort of the market leaders, Silvano Conte, and SAP's fits in well and has a good season.
I think a horse at a massive price.
Here we go.
At a massive price. It's
Hollywell.
Hollywell. Hollywell to win the Triple Crown. Betfair King George.
Listen, the Hollywell would have no chance around Kempton. It's too much of a speed test for that horse. But one horse that, if we were looking for anti-post selections and you wanted to have you were desperate to have a few quid on tonight, about Captain Chris. I mean, he was a huge price around the 25 to 1 mark. Seemed to turn over a new leaf at the end of last season. Sorry. I mean, he came out. He beat Champion Court. He came out and beat 23 lengths, and then he came out after that. Ascot over 2 mile, 5.5 furlong soft ground, beat Cloudy 2, 19 lengths. You hacked up in a Grade 3 race. Obviously, the horse is important that he has to go right-handed, left-handed for the likes of the Gold Cup. But just on those runs alone, I mean, he's ran to some real high marks that day, and of course, he didn't quite do it against Long Run that day. But he might just be a forgotten horse back at Kempton and at a big price.
Is he 10-year-old, 11-year-old?
Well, yeah. Well, he is.
It doesn't matter if it's an outsider, and if it wins, we can look back like we did on Trev and go, he picked the winner.
Yeah,
we can. Yeah.
Of the 3 races, I mean, is it fair to say that the King George is the one that stands out for you in terms of most prestige? It's on Boxing Day, or which one do you like?
Is this if Simon Sigg turns up? Because he's bred to say 3 miles. I think it could be really exciting. If Simon Sigg doesn't turn up and we're choosing between Silviano and Conte,
Hugh Card and
Dinhouse, so. But for me, it's the Hennessy because it's a handicap. But
yeah,
you think that?
I just think they're all such different races on different tracks, and they require different. The different horses will be suited better for different tracks. So I just think it's all a fascinating spectacle. And I always thought with my form research is to look at those angles, and that's what makes it fascinating.
Okay,
is that form can be reversed on different tracks.
Okay.